Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. I'm doing great because we are in a little bit of warmth. It's actually 70 degrees. We are in Florida and we're gonna go see a famous grave that I've wanted to see for a long time. A lot of people don't know that one of the ways that I got into playing guitar or learning guitar, I always loved guitar from watching Slash and Brian May play, but I didn't want to learn it until I got into 50s music and I had seen La Bamba and started listening to all the great music of the 50s, and that includes the man we're going to see today, the originator, Bo Diddley. Now, as you can tell, I'm wearing different sunglasses today. These are for my special Patreon, Angelo Lucchetta. Angelo, I hope you enjoy our vlog on Bo Diddley, a man who actually is the only person to have their own rhythm named after them, and I'm going to tell you how he accidentally stumbled upon that rhythm. Let's go see his grave. Hey there, John. Do you want to say hi to your buddies? Do you want to say hi to all your fans? We're going to go see Bo Diddley today. Ja, you don't know Diddley. Okay, maybe you do. Look at that face. Absolutely beautiful weather. One of the reasons I've never stopped to visit Bo Diddley, which that's not even his real name, is because he's kind of in a part of Florida that I don't travel past very often. We had to make this a special destination. This one is gonna actually be pretty easy because as I was driving in right over here, I noticed that he was right here by the street. So he's buried here in Bronson, Florida, because he lived out his last days in Archer, which is, looks like it's about 8 miles up the road. So right over here you can see the average size of the headstones here in the cemetery, and then look at how gargantuous this one is. His is no joke, like the size of a garage door. Looks like they have a little path here. See, very easy to find right there by the street. Big one. With AstroTurf here. His signature guitar. Well, he had a lot of guitars, but that was probably the most signature one. Beautiful. The mighty Bo Diddley. I'm a man, it says. Pioneer, icon, pharaoh, originator, legend. It says, wow, I'm going to heaven. Elias McDaniel. Elias McDaniel was his real name. It was actually Elias B. It was Bates. Great picture right there of him. A man with a heart for people. Elias Bates McDaniel says he is a landmark etched in world history, inventor of the Bo Diddley beat, originator in rock and roll, pioneer in the music industry, an icon whose music influenced the world, pharaoh, a man amongst men. His legend continues. Wowza! With his famous Gretsch right there. And then over here you see, here is a Elias Sr. Gone fishing. Now the McDaniel name, this is how this shakes out, is that his father was Bates, and unfortunately his mother, when she gave birth to him, she was 16, so she couldn't take care of him, and the father didn't stick around. So Elias Bates became Elias McDaniel because his mother, who I think her last name was Wilson, she ended up asking her sister, Gussie McDaniel, to raise Elias. So she did, and he was born in Mississippi, but she moved after her husband died. She moved to South Chicago and started attending the Ebenezer Baptist Church. And during that time, that's where Bo Diddley, Elias Bates McDaniel, that's where he would start learning music. He actually, look at this, this is great, I just noticed this. Somebody down here left one of his kind of famous belts and straps. People have left drumsticks, ashtrays. This one says Dad, so one of his kids was out here. He had several kids. He had, I think, 4 wives, 15 grandkids. So back to his story is that his new mother, who was his actual, it wasn't his birth mother, but it was his mother's first cousin who became his, who he would call mom. She takes him to the church, and at 7 years old, he starts learning the violin. And he would go to that church all the time, constantly, from the time he was 7 to 19. And so he would learn the violin there, and he said he heard John Lee Hooker and wanted to get a guitar. And so he said that, and his mom, she said, "No way." She said, "You'll ruin your life with that thing." She said, "There's no way I'm gonna allow it in my house." He said, in fact, she wouldn't even let like a funny book in the house, like a book of jokes, because she thought that that was time that you could be spent learning something. He goes, and she was kind of right, because he said, I had a friend that used to read the Superman comics, and he put a blanket around his neck and jumped out a window. So he said she would make sure that he was not gonna go down that path, but his sister ended up giving him his first guitar. And so he would play out on the street corners with like somebody that would play a jug, and somebody that would do like the washboard, and they would play out on the Chicago streets for like little change, you know, like passing the hat kind of change. And so that's how he kind of learned how to play guitar. And he ended up trying his hand first at boxing, like an amateur boxer, but he realized he wasn't that good at that. And then he became a construction worker, and then he got actually laid off from the construction job. And when that happened, he just thought, you know what, maybe I should go back to music. So he got an electric guitar and started playing gigs. And he loved the blues, so he was playing blues. And he said actually how he stumbled upon the Bo Diddley beat was that he was trying to learn the cowboy song, "I've got spurs that jingle, jangle, jingle." He said, a lot of people don't know about me. I love country music. I love everything about it. And I wanted to learn that song, and I kept getting the beat wrong. And I realized when I would play that beat that was like hypnotic. He said it was a dance beat, but it was also hypnotic. So that became his thing. And he said, one day I was out walking around my neighborhood. He said, literally 2 blocks from my house, and I didn't even know that Chess Records was there. So he stopped and talked to the people at Chess Records who were putting out Chuck Berry's records and Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and everything. And he said, you know, like when he got into it, he wanted to be a blues man, because he said, when I heard John Lee Hooker play, I said, if this guy can learn guitar, anybody can. But he said, later on when I would realize John Lee Hooker was actually really good, and that he just had his own unique sound, and he didn't deviate from that. So he said, so I got it in my head, I wanted my own sound, and once I came up with that sound, that was going to be it. So he came up with the Bo Diddley sound, and he would play these wacky looking guitars, these like rectangular guitars. And he said part of that became just a gimmick. He said, I call myself the professor of the gimmicks. And he said that was just one of those things that I would, over the years, because he ended up becoming really popular. When he went to Chess, they ended up eventually recording him, and he had cut I'm a Man already and Bo Diddley. One of my favorite stories about Bo is the story about making his first recording. He didn't have any money, and he knew a lady that lived near him that had a machine that would cut 78s. So he said one day he actually talked to her and said, could I borrow that from you? She said, yeah. So he said he found an old 78 laying out in the alley, and like he said, he had very little money. So he said he took that, went to the hardware store, got himself some paint lacquer and lacquered up the record, and then waited for it to dry. And he said, when I got done, I looked at it, I go, that kind of looks like what they cut records on. Maybe it'll work. So that was actually what he cut his first record on, was that lacquer that he made himself. Took that to Chess Records. He went to VJ first and they weren't interested, and then he found out about Chess being in his neighborhood, so Chess put those out and those became hits. And Bo Diddley wasn't even his name, it was Elias McDaniel. But according to my blues teacher at Musicians Institute, he said the way that that came about was in high school, that it was like Bo Diddley was kind of like a folk figure of like this man who would ride into town on a horse with like his guns a-blazing and nobody could take him down, and he'd leave with the girl and everything. And he said Bo Diddley just kind of adapted, he wrote a song about it and then just kind of adapted that. But Bo Diddley became a superstar, a true originator of 50s rock and roll. And then when the 60s came around, he was out doing like tours with a lot of the old 50s guys, including the Rolling Stones, and started learning and started putting out like surf music and beach music. So he always he would still do the Bo Diddley beat, but he would evolve with the times. And throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s, he would always be relevant. He would always be playing shows. I found a funny interview where he's talking about when he used to, when he toured with The Clash, and he was like, man, what a waste. He's like, they got a wall of amplifiers. You don't need all that. He said, that's just a waste. He said, they think that's loud. He said, all you need to do is put a microphone on one little small amplifier and you get the same effect. But he said, I get it. That's their gimmick. That's their generation's gimmick. He said, personally, I think it's stupid. I think it's a lot of equipment to carry around. He said, I couldn't hear for a week after I toured with them, but he said, like I said, though, I have my gimmicks and I know that's just their generation's gimmick. So he was always playing shows throughout his whole life. Even I remember him being the pawn shop broker and trading places.
Man, that watch is so hot, it's smoking.
Hot? Do you mean to imply stolen?
I'll give you $50 for it.
It tells time simultaneously in Monte Carlo, Beverly Hills, London, Paris, Rome, and Stade.
In Philadelphia, it's worth $50.
And then when I was a kid, he ended up doing all those Bo Knows commercials for Nike.
Bo knows baseball. Bo knows basketball too. Bo, you don't know diddly.
Which apparently that ended really badly. Apparently Nike ripped him off big time. He would file like cease and desist orders and they would just ignore him. They never paid him for his likeness or anything apparently. So pretty sad, but guy lived a long life. 79 years. I mean, you can't scoff at that. 79 years. He actually was playing up. He died in 2008, as you can see over here, June 2nd, 2008. But he was playing up until 2007. He played his show and then the next day had I believe a stroke, and then that affected part of his brain, so he wasn't able to perform any longer, and he had suffered from high cholesterol and diabetes his whole life pretty much, and had managed that, but in the end it was a heart attack. He had a heart attack and then went to the hospital and died of heart failure. So sad, but he's Blues Hall of Famer, R&B Hall of Famer, pretty much every Hall of Fame that matters. Beautiful guitar. I brought mine. I have a rectangular guitar in honor of Bo Diddley because Bo Diddley was so influential on music that actually Buddy Holly would use his beat to create one of the most famous songs of all time. And that song is called Not Fade Away. You see, it's so famous that it was a song that Buddy Holly was known for. He wrote it literally has the Bo Diddley beat in tribute to Bo, but it was such a great song that the Rolling Stones and the Grateful Dead have traditionally always ended their show with that song. So I brought out a really cool guitar right here that has an interesting story. You see, my guitar has that same box shape, and where I got this, or the story behind this, is that Sonny West, who wrote a couple of Buddy's hit songs, including Rave On, which he signed right there, Rave On, Sonny West on my guitar. He wrote songs for Buddy Holly and the Crickets. And when I toured Norman Petty Studios, where Buddy used to record his hits, they showed me that Sonny West made guitars. And I said, no kidding. And they're like, yeah, if you can track him down, he makes and sells guitars. I forget, I think he's passed away now. So I tracked him down and found out that there were a couple being sold through a secondary party for him on eBay. And I was thinking of getting one, and I had a really good friend. It's been a lifelong friend since I moved to California, so over 20 years, named Breck. He and I took a trip across the country, and he decided to give me a really nice gift. When he decided to move from California to Texas, I offered to go along with him so that I could vlog the experience, and I told him, hey, I'll pay for our hotels, I'll pay for our admission to things that I want to vlog or whatever, and then you just pay the gas. So we did this whole trip across country, and then when we got to Texas, the sale for his home in California went through, and he decided to donate $500 to my channel. He was like, thank you for bringing me along with all the vlogs all these years. Thank you for inspiring me to start my own. Maybe you can use this money to get yourself something cool. And he basically gave me that right after I had been to Norman Petty Studios. I went online and bought this guitar for about $350, and it's one of my favorite things. They were actually selling 3 guitars at the time, and this is the only one that was that rectangular shape, but as soon as I saw it, I said, Bo Diddley, not Fade Away, the connection of Buddy Holly, it just makes sense. I gotta get this one, so that's what I did. So that's the cool story behind my Bo Diddley style guitar. I also believe Sonny West wrote, it was either That'll Be the Day or Oh Boy. It was one of those songs. How cool. I'll show you a photo. Bo Diddley used to use a lot of different rectangular shape, wacky guitars as his gimmicks. I'll show you photos of him with some of those. I also read that he was partially responsible for helping Marvin Gaye's career along. He had befriended the Marquis, and Marvin Gaye was in the Marquis, and he saw that Marvin Gaye had kind of a talent that was a little bit better or more than everyone else's, and he helped him get a new contract, get out of that and get a contract, and moved him to Detroit, where his career really took off. So I'm guessing that this grave over here must have been his son, because I was confused by it. I'm like, well, you know, McDaniel was his mother, who was the cousin, but then I looked at the dates, and it's August 14th, 1954, and he died in 2020, so yes, that would have, it's just weird to see Elias Sr. with a date after Bo Diddley, who is also Elias McDaniel, and he was born in 28, so. But I love that they did so much. What a tribute, and like I said, apparently his family comes out here. They have crosses here, lit up crosses that are solar powered, so they light up at night. Then you've got this great memorial here. And a little angel over here in the tree that I just noticed. Looks like a lot of people come out here and leave little notes and stones and things for him. I know he has a statue somewhere. I think it might be near Gainesville. I'm gonna go see if we can find it. Go see it. Yeah, there's actually a Bo Diddley Plaza in Gainesville we're gonna go to. We're actually passing through Archer now, and that is about 35 minutes from his grave. How you holding up, buddy? How's that Florida sunshine treating you? You were getting kind of tired of the cold, weren't you? You're back in Florida. So I'm downtown Gainesville now, and apparently after Bo passed away, his family donated one of his guitars to the city. They have a mural here. Take a look at that. Right here on the corner of First Avenue and Main Street. 4 different depictions of Bo Diddley's career. Older Bo. That's kind of like what we saw him in the Bo Jackson commercials. Bo, you don't know Diddley. This is great, even his classic guitar. Man, they did a good job on that. Really great job. I'm guessing it's probably over. You can see up here at the very top it says Diddley Plaza. Must be up there. And we did find over here in this park is Bo Diddley Plaza. That's cool. They have a whole stage and everything. Can't get up to it. They have it all closed up right now, but great mural to him. You can see they have him right over here and right in the dead center. And then down at the end, that awesome cowboy hat look he had. I'm not seeing a statue, but I'm gonna keep looking. I can't believe that I would just make that up in my mind and it not actually exist, but it's possible. You know, it's crazy. I've asked 3 people walking around and none of them know about it. But I feel like I literally, even though I didn't vlog it, I feel like I even stopped and took a photo of it. Maybe I'm going insane. Maybe this is one of those butterfly effect or one of those weird things of whatever that is when something didn't really happen but you think it happened. John, I'm looking all over online and I cannot find an address for a statue of Bo Diddley here. I think I completely somehow made that up. However, when I was here before, they did not have that mural, so it was totally worth coming here because the mural popped up at the end of 2022. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up back out at the gravesite. We're gonna call it a day. Thank you all for watching. I am so glad that I finally got to visit the mighty Bo Diddley. Absolutely a legend, like he says right there. Pioneer, icon, pharaoh, originator, legend. Landmark, inventor, Hall of Famer, historian, incomparable man. Have a great night and goodbye.